rest of the board is all right with that? Yes? Okay. So we are just going to let people speak their 4 minutes for as long as we need to be here and listen before we start presentations and discussion. And so when you come forward and are called, just address the board, state your name. We are not allowed, because of the Brown Act, we cannot respond back to you, but just know that your comments are going to fuel our discussion in a little while. So with that, I'm going to open public comments.
Okay, our first comment is Evelyn Gutierrez.
Good evening, my name is Evelyn. I am the parent of a kindergartner at Lemon Crest. I'm here to speak on budget and behavior, but I'm also here as a voice for the families who couldn't make it tonight. The parents working late shifts, those who face language barriers, and those who feel their concerns have gone unheard. For a 6-year-old, staffing and facility plans aren't abstract concepts. They are the difference between a day of learning and a day of just trying to survive. My son is 6. He is bright, high energy, and sensory seeking. He was once entirely nonverbal. His ability to speak today is the result of years of relentless work and private therapy. He fought for his voice, but in a room of 24 children, that voice is at risk. Because he is bright, his disability is often overlooked until his behavior becomes an issue, at which point we've already failed him. He's a sensory seeker. His body needs to move to think. When a 6-year-old is overwhelmed and unsupported, behavior is the only language he has left. He isn't being disrespectful or defiant. He is a child drowning in a room of 24 people who cannot recognize when he is dysregulated. And he isn't alone. There are so many other kids quietly vibrating with that same unmet need for support. I am standing here on the side of our teachers. As we discuss budget and staffing, we must acknowledge that a 1:24 ratio is not an educational environment. It is a survival environment. One teacher cannot catch the subtle signs of dysregulation in my son and other children while managing 23 others. First, regarding staffing, we need extra support staff inside the classrooms. We need a second pair of eyes to intervene before a sensory high turns into a behavioral low. Second, regarding facility improvements, I'm asking you to consider investing in sensory playgrounds, which I have attached and included in your handouts, and indoor sensory gyms. These aren't extras. As we discuss accessibility later tonight, remember that these spaces allow students to get the input they need so they can return to their desks regulated and ready to focus. This leads to happier teachers and students and a healthier community. Investing in staffing and sensory infrastructure isn't just a line item. It is the baseline requirement for an inclusive environment where an autistic child can succeed instead of just surviving. When you discuss and vote on budget, please remember the families who aren't in these seats tonight, whose lives will be shaped by your decision. Don't let the kids who are trying so hard to fly under the radar be the ones who pay the price for a lean budget. Thank you.
Okay, our next speaker is Jen Price.
Good evening, Lakeside Union School Board, Superintendent and Assistant Superintendents. My name is Jen Price and I'm the proud principal of Lemon Crest Elementary. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of our students, our staff, and our school community. Lemon Crest serves nearly 450 students, each bringing unique strengths, needs, and life experiences onto our campus every day. Our responsibility is not to just teach academic skills, but to help children learn how to navigate challenges, regulate emotions, repair mistakes, and grow into kind, responsible, and contributing members of our community. Since becoming principal in the winter of 2023-2024 school year, I have seen tremendous growth and work at Lemon Crest. Through intentional work focused on behavior and social emotional learning, systems improvement, relationships, consistency, and compassion, we have significantly reduced suspensions and major office referrals while also seeing an incredible increase in positive office referrals. Just last month in December, we had 96 positive office referrals. These referrals recognize our students for demonstrating our school-wide expectations of ROAR, respect on task, always safe and responsible, as well as kindness, leadership, perseverance, and integrity, because we believe reinforcing the behaviors we want to see is just as important as addressing the behaviors we don't. While traditional consequences are appropriate, we intentionally pair these consequences with accountability, support, and guidance, with additional layers like parent communication, connecting students with trusted school adults, as well as supports such as time with our school counselor and our outside therapy partners of Wellness Together and San Diego Center for Children. Some examples of consequences that are appropriate in elementary school based on the behaviors include conference with the principal, parent call home, loss of privilege, campus beautification, as well as in-school suspension with opportunities for reflection and repair, or when necessary, out-of-school suspension. When mistakes happen, and they will, because our students are children who are still learning, our staff works tirelessly to ensure correction happens within the context of trust and strong relationships. As educational experts, we know that meaningful behavior change occurs when students are held responsible while still being taught, supported, and connected to trusted school adults, giving them the tools to make better choices moving forward. At Lemon Crest, we treat students with empathy and dignity because we never forget that each child is someone's baby. Our work is more than managing behavior. It is about shaping future leaders, helping children believe in themselves and ensuring that they feel safe, valued, and supported at school. I'm incredibly proud of our students, our families, and our staff. The progress that we're seeing is real, it's meaningful, and it's the result of daily intentional effort. Lemon Crest is a school that believes in growth, second chances, and the power of relationships, and we will continue doing that work every single day. I encourage you, as always, to visit Lemon Crest to see the great things that we're doing, to support our kids, and to feel the positivity and joy that happens every single day. Thank you for your time.
Our next speaker is John Greenwell.
Hi, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Lakeside Union School Board and Lakeside Cabinet, as well as visitors and guests. My name is John Greenwell, and I'm the very proud principal of Riverview International Academy. I'm here tonight to speak on behalf of my school team, as we are Southern California's premier Mandarin and Spanish immersion school. Our school's two campuses, comprised of Winter Gardens and Riverview, serve nearly 800 students. And we educate the whole child. Helping children with behaviors is not a distraction from our work, it is an essential part of our work as educators. We collaborate with parents and legal guardians and provide support and structure to hold children accountable for their actions and their learning. We also provide them the opportunity to make better choices and learn from mistakes. Our school is a very safe place to learn and grow. It is because of our record of success that we have been honored as a California Distinguished School in 2025. We are creating tomorrow's global leaders today, and therefore we must offer a robust social emotional learning program to help our students cultivate necessary leadership skills. We are proud to provide developmentally appropriate means to follow the collaborative for academic, social, and emotional learning, or what's often referred to as CASEL. Riverview International Academy has many components to support social emotional learning time. We have a daily morning message that gives the day's weather, a joke, social stories, and a social emotional learning prompt for students and their teacher to discuss. We reinforce the district student profile and our school's common courtesies. We issue marvelous Mustang tickets, and students can purchase experiences with staff and prizes in our school's store, the Mustang Mercantile, as a direct result of being caught doing the right thing. We host Mustang assemblies to review school expectations and rules, and we issue awards for the trimester, as well as offer opportunities for classroom jobs and roles. Our teachers have treasure boxes, marble jars, and we offer extra recess. In short, we offer many positive incentives for behavior, academics, and excellent attendance. Riverview International Academy is proactive in supporting students with school counseling support, referrals via outside agencies, including our partnership with Wellness Together, the Student Success Team, or SST process. We offer military-connected family supports, and we offer other resources through our district support team. And I want to emphasize this, everybody at our school pitches in and helps out, from the custodian all the way up to our superintendent. Like other schools in our district, we follow a progressive discipline system that emphasizes learning appropriate behavior over relying on traditional punishment. When behaviors happen, we respond with support, accountability, and guidance. Our team builds strong relationships with students so that they can be successful, and we work with parents and legal guardians. We want our students to understand the impact of their actions, and we give them the tools to make better choices moving forward. I want to be clear, we always provide consequences for bad behavior and bad choices, but with an opportunity to restore a relationship and repair the harm that was caused to others as part of our school's exceptional educational experience. We hold students accountable for their choices as we develop a culture of thinking and learning in our school. I'm very proud to say that we have reduced office referrals at Riverview International Academy, as well as suspensions, and we're continuing to improve our chronic absenteeism rate. We're reducing disruptions with this approach. Our next steps include creating a calming corner in every classroom and purchasing additional curricular resources to support the social emotional learning in our classrooms. I am very, very proud of the time, energy, and efforts of our staff for supporting students and the collaboration we have with parents and outside agencies. We welcome the support of our board and district leadership to better serve our students, and we invite you to our upcoming events or to just tour our school. Thank you so much for your time.
Next comment is from Todd Johnson.
Thank you, board, staff. My name is Todd Johnson, and I am here tonight as the father of fourth grade who depends on adults around her to absolutely everything. My daughter has Down syndrome. She's essentially nonverbal, and she survived open heart surgery at 4 months old. She is resilient, joyful, and trusting, and because she cannot speak herself, she relies entirely on us and her school to keep her safe. During her third grade year, that safety was not there. My wife and I repeatedly witnessed another student in her classroom engaging extremely unsafe behaviors, climbing on desks and staff, pulling down blinds, throwing objects, and running around the room. There were occasions, moments of dysregulation. They are daily, sometimes multiple times a day. The classroom was unpredictable and chaotic. For most children, this would be disruptive. For our daughter, it was dangerous. The moment that shook us was a phone call from our school nurse telling us our daughter had been kicked in the chest. For a child with history of heart surgery, that is terrifying. And just 1 week before our scheduled meeting with the school, she was pushed and fell backwards and hit her head on a cabinet. Because she is nonverbal, she could not tell us how badly she was hurt or whether she was scared. We had to rely entirely on the staff to protect her, and that protection failed. When we asked for incident reports, we were first told the school did not do them. when we finally received reports that there weren't a written, or they were written by someone who wasn't even present during the incident, and they were incomplete or incorrect. That alone should concern every person in this room. While volunteering, my wife saw firsthand what these behaviors meant for the entire classrooms. Lessons derailed, students relocated for safety, staff stretched thin, and academic time lost. Her teacher told us she had been begging for help, asking for observations, behavior support, and guidance on how to set up a classroom for students with sensory needs, and no one was listening. And then there was a larger issue becomes clear. What was experienced wasn't just a classroom problem, it was a leadership problem. When teachers ask for help and get none, when staff feel intimidated into changing their story, when the parents raise safety concerns and those concerns are brushed aside, that tells us the issue is coming from above, and the numbers make that painfully obvious. Our district has approximately 4,500 students. Roughly 10% receive special education services, yet the entire district has 1 board-certified behavior analysis and 4 behavior assistants. That is a behavior support system for hundreds of students with complex needs in dozens of classrooms. It is simply not the problem, or not possible, for a BCA or BCBA and 4 assistants to meaningfully support a district of that size. So when we finally met with the school and the district staff, it was no surprise, but still deeply disappointing, that the lack of support became even more clear. Our concerns were minimized, and the teacher who had even asked, or had been even asking for help, suddenly changed her story, later telling us she felt intimidated and couldn't speak honestly. That moment told us everything we needed to know about the culture surrounding special education in this district. A healthy special education system depends on leadership and support its staff, listen to families, and prioritize student safety, not leadership that minimize concerns of threat safety as inconvenience or a budget line. When the people responsible for guiding support special education choose not to act, the consequences fall directly on the children and the staff who are left to manage impossible situations without the tools they need. Behaviors have consequences, not just for the students exhibiting them, but for every child in the classroom. In our daughter's case, those consequences were physical injuries, emotional stress, and loss of learning time. And because she cannot speak for herself, she cannot tell us what she experienced. That is why we are here tonight. We are not blaming the student who was struggling. The child deserves support too, but support never came. Not for the student, not for the teachers, and not for our daughter. And that is a failure on the leadership. We are asking this board to ensure no family has to fight this hard just to keep their child safe at school. We need real behavior support, real staffing, real oversight, real accountability, and leadership that empowers teachers instead of silencing them, and listen to parents instead of dismissing them. Our daughter cannot speak for herself, so tonight we are here speaking for her. Thank you.
Janice Rush.
Hello, my name's Janice Rush. I'm a recent resident of Lakeside. I came to help with my youngest grandson. My oldest grandsons went through Riverview, and we have a little one now. I'm a retired educator, teacher, and the reason I'm here is because of the issue with disruptive and violent behavior that happens in classrooms. And I just want to read a statement to you. I wrote this statement and I put it on social media about 10 years ago. And as a teacher, I was written up by the principal. I was told by the principal that the school board had directed that I be told to be quiet and to write me up. This is what I said. I'm nervous. Today, in classrooms all across the state, students are being denied the right to a quality education in a safe environment because of one student. One student whose parents have decided they want their child mainstreamed and included in a regular classroom. This decision is not necessarily based on what is best for their child, but only on what they want, with seemingly no regard for the well-being of the other students. And as a teacher, I got in trouble for that. This statement is being shared by parents and educators for years now. A problem which has not been solved. Because of the problem that has not been solved, the safety and right to a quality education of the majority of students in a classroom has been ignored, or just not knowing how to deal with it. It's gone on for so long. Classrooms are being evacuated, students are being injured and frightened on a daily basis. I don't have the answer, but one of the things I believe is needed, if I can find, I have way more than 4 minutes, is a plan. Okay, where's the plan page? If the students are allowed to be placed in a regular stateroom, that's the classroom, we need a plan before they're assigned to and able to stay in that classroom, I believe. It should be detailed and in writing. The protection of the other students should be a priority. The student should not be allowed to continue in the classroom effective immediately after an outburst of either destroying the classroom or hurting another child. I don't mean to sound insensitive, but, and I'm only talking about students, not students with learning behaviors, but disruptive and dangerous behavior. Throwing water bottles, hitting other kids in the head, causing injury, stabbing with pencils, heaven forbid scissors. They're using foul language to other students as well as the teacher. School properties being damaged, other students' pencil boxes in the younger grades are being dumped over, and this is occurring from what I'm hearing, all the schools across the state, not just this district. So anyway, if you need someone on the committee, I volunteer to come up with a plan. Thank you.
Carrie Strong.
Hello, I'm Carrie Strong. I'm president of the Lakeside Teacher Association, and we have been in long and open communication with our administrators and our board for several years about the increasing behaviors that we're experiencing in our classrooms, the harm that is causing to our staff emotionally and physically, as well as to all of our students who experience those type of situations. And I want to be really clear that all of our teachers are coming from the place of we want every child in our classroom to be there, to stay there, and to be safe. And that is our goal in our classrooms. And so when you guys are considering things, what we're hoping that you're able to consider is that we have different things. You hear a lot of teachers asking for, we need support, we need resources. What does that look like? And that is the crux of the conversation here, is like, what is that actual support? We have an incredible behavior team that are going to present to you tonight. As I totally echo what the other parent said, we don't have enough of them to go around. They're doing such good work. but they can't be in multiple places at once, right? And so those are the types of things that I think are important to consider. So when we're thinking about resources, it looks different at every grade level, at different schools. Sometimes it looks like staff who can help a child having big emotions go through that, whether that's a counselor or a behavior specialist, to de-escalate in the moment, or to work through the ongoing problems. Our partnerships with Wellness Together are super critical to keep those resources going for us, so that the teacher can focus on teaching and educating and meeting all the standards that we're required to teach to all of the children. So sometimes that's what resources look like. Sometimes resources look like funding training for staff or funding parenting classes where we can build partnerships so that some of our parents who might want some other strategies with their kids, because maybe they're having the same behaviors at home in their neighborhood, and we can build that partnership together to work on that. Sometimes it looks like that. And then we talk about support, and that can come in lots of different forms. And the biggest thing for our teachers is that we need to do that, determining what support is in collaboration. There's nothing worse than someone coming in and saying, I brought you support, and it's not what you need, right? You're like, thank you for all of this, but this is not what this kid needs. We have to make sure we're doing that in collaboration and not in isolation. And I think our principals are starting to do a really good job with their leadership teams on their campuses, finding out what their teachers need individually as well as grade level and holistically as a campus. Keeping that going and making sure that we have time and space for those conversations to happen with our teachers and our leaders, because that's how they can problem solve on the ground, right? And then our principals can do a really good job of sourcing those resources to come to their school to help provide the supports to those staff, right? So it's like we need time and space to collaborate that all together. So maybe keeping that in mind when you're thinking of budgeting and planning, that is an important piece there as well. And then the other piece that we hear a lot is that we want to make sure that our special education students are included in our general education classes. They should not be seen as other, and that is a really important thing for all of our teachers. The thing where we run into issues is if we see kids who are being successful in their special education classroom with a group of 10 to 13 kids and they have 2 to 3 aides in that classroom, is it logical to presume that that child is going to also be successful in a room of 24 to 30 kids? Maybe not. Maybe they need some of those supports to come with them to that classroom. Maybe they need to make sure that they have a space in that classroom on that roster so they're not making that classroom 2 to 3 to 4 kids over that classroom ratio size where we have our class limits, right? So these are the things that, and this costs money, right? So it's the budget and the behavior, it does kind of go hand in hand because we have to decide what's the most efficient use of that money and the most effective use of it as well. When we're talking about behavior. And I think those are the big overarching considerations that as you're talking, I hope you can kind of reflect on that. And I just want to extend our appreciation to all of our staff and our board for always wanting to listen to our teachers and have our voice be heard and taken seriously as the professionals who are dealing with this in our classroom each day. And thank you to our community for seeing the need as well and supporting that. So thank you.
Cindy Hilliker.
I don't have an eloquently prepared speech or anything, but I did want to come and speak just as an educator, as a teacher, not just in Lakeside. I've worked in other districts. I've worked in a variety of settings, from significant needs all the way down to now full inclusion general education. And I sit and I have lunch with other teachers, and I want to extend, and talking to my coworkers today, they really, many could not make it tonight to have their voice heard, but they would love to speak to you, and they want to extend and put out the offer to have you come and sit and host dialogues, conversations at school sites with teachers to hear more of what's going on the ground floor. What I have noticed in my time, I love inclusion, I love my special ed, I have seen success and I've seen students struggle. I agree with a lot of what I've heard here today. I've seen students with sensory needs who, yeah, would most definitely benefit with having a sensory break room, having a safe place to go to get that space out. We've tried looking at those here and there within our district in years past, and it takes funding, it takes space, and it takes direction. And all of those things have always been only halfway created. Halfway found some funds to start it, halfway got space set aside, but no one really there to finish and complete it to the extent needed. You know, I've seen where we have a lot of behaviors and we have students clustered at specific schools. Each school in our district is like its own little microcosm, its own little micro community. But we have our special needs students are clustered at various schools. And because of that, those schools have an excess, and I'm gonna use the word burden, only because they have more students that they're trying to support with extreme needs. And it does take a lot out of the teachers, the classified, the administration. I sat there, as a board, I would like you to look at where our students are and what resources are needed at each school. And I understand we're going more towards full inclusion, but we need to look at having the supports there. I've seen students, Carrie's talking about, they do really successfully in a small class with extra aides, but then because they're doing successfully, they get put into a classroom of 24, 25 kids and one teacher without a strong transition plan to support that student. And those teachers struggle when, you know, that child is dysregulated and trying to keep everyone else understanding that this behavior that you're seeing is not okay. We don't copy that behavior and support that student, and what can I do to help you better integrate in? As one teacher, that's a challenge. And that's not a training issue, that's they need extra supports. And there's times when there are extra staff on site and our administrators are great saying, hey, I have extra someone, let me, you know, they can support you today. Those are completely different days. As a teacher, those mean the world to have one extra staff member be able to come in and sit there and for me say, I need you to support this student, this is what they need to be doing, and then together we can tackle and make it a successful setting. And those are the supports I think aren't fully thought out as when we are transitioning kids into a fully inclusive setting, that student has the supports they need to transition them. It's not just about how many minutes do they need a special ed instructor coming in and working with their academics, but how are they socially, emotionally gonna work and transition and function into a larger setting that is more overstimulating, that does take a lot more demands. I'm open to any conversations if anyone wants to have any conversations, but I did want to come here and offer that out there, my 2 cents as being an educator in various settings. Thank you.
Kiki is next. Kiki questions.
Hello, everybody. My name's Kiki. I am a parent of a middle schooler. I am actually the victim of the biggest behavior you can see as a school. I am the victim of a school shooting. So I know firsthand the behaviors that can be in a classroom. As a parent, my daughter has been evacuated from a classroom, so now I have experienced where you have 24 children whose learning has impacted by one child. I fully agree that everybody deserves an education, but it is hard when you have 24 students whose education has to stop for one student, and now everybody, the one student, there were times where it took a while for the one student to calm down or be removed from the classroom before my daughter's classroom could go back in the classroom. Or her classroom would go into another classroom, and now you're talking about you have almost 50 students in one classroom, and that teacher is now scrambling to try to have 2 classes together for instruction while the other teacher is dealing with the behavior. So we have that. I do have today where my daughter came home hungry because her lunch was actually taken from her by another student and thrown at another child, so she ended up not eating today at school. And again, that comes with eyes. I mean, she's at middle school, right? There's only so many lunch aides. There's only so many eyes on kids. So behaviors are definitely an issue. They impact the kids. What's the answer? I don't know, because they weren't there when I was a kid. But as somebody who has seen what untamed behaviors can result in, it is scary. So the problem, when it's not addressed at the elementary and the middle school level, these become high schoolers who then bring weapons to school, and that is their solution. Their solution is to then turn weapons onto teachers and students. So I am huge. Andrew knows that I am very huge on behaviors and addressing behaviors and addressing them at this young age, because this is the time to address it. I do think that support is major in the classroom. The teachers need more help. The behaviors aren't like they were years and years and years ago. So you had one teacher to 25 to 35 students. That doesn't work anymore. It doesn't work. It's unfair to put one teacher with that many students, and you could have 5 behaviors in one classroom. How is that one teacher supposed to help these 3 behaviors, but then you have other students who are literally sitting there waiting for instruction? And this teacher is trying to just handle behaviors, and you have students just waiting. It's unfair. It's unfair to everybody. It's unfair to the teacher, it's unfair to the students who are waiting, it's unfair to the students that need help, because they need more support, and you have one teacher just being stretched so thin. So, definitely, I think funding needs to go towards more support for staff. That's it.
Ashley Paulette.
Hello, my name is Ashley. I have 2 daughters, one that goes to Winter Gardens and one that goes to Riverview. I support and value the importance of acknowledging positive behavior in a classroom, and there must also be meaningful changes within that classroom to ensure student safety and uninterrupted learning. In the past 2 weeks, my daughter has been evacuated from her classroom twice due to another student exhibiting angry and dangerous behavior. As a result, she now feels uncomfortable in her classroom and has showed increased anxiety, plus the loss of valuable learning time. One day last week, my husband was physically unable to get her to go to school, so she had to go to work with him. While compassion and support for all students is essential, the current situation is negatively impacting others, and plus a sense of safety, the ability to learn, and I urge the district to address this with greater urgency. Thank you.
Medina Ruskell.
Hello. Oh, yeah, that's on. Good evening. Thank you. I wasn't going to speak here, but behaviors are a big subject. I really am grateful that you are here tonight. I am an employee of Lemoncrest. I have been with the district for 16 plus years. My children 3 children went through here. Again, one parent said, it has changed. It absolutely has changed. When my children went through, gates were locked open. They were not locked closed. There were not, you know, it was more of an open campus, actually. It really was. The gate that said this gate is to be locked open was locked open. I am here tonight to speak because I work in the office and I hear it from the teachers, the parents, the students, everyone, and I feel it too. I myself, today, helped assist and answer a couple of assisted calls. A couple of kids asked for walking breaks or calm down breaks. I took 3 kids for a walk. I answered a few BIA calls because, again, I'm gonna bounce on the fact that yes, as the behaviors have increased, 4 BIAs stretched across the district is a lot for them, and we are putting a lot of pressure on them. It's not fair to ask 4 people to handle all the students in Lakeside. Because it's not just special ed. On my campus, we do have the mod severe class, and I will also add to that yes, A lot of the times, there are no subs when our actual staff is out, so they are short-staffed. And they do the best that they can. But again, you're juggling, okay, we can't do this activity today, or we can't do this one today, to keep the children safe. What else is there? There's, it's just a lot of that. Yes, I agree with the clearing of the classroom for the one child, keeping one child in and having them in the class. I've witnessed that. I've helped them clear. It is, I will say this, I will say that at Lemon Crest I have seen improvement, progress, growth. There is a lot of things in place, but again, I think it comes down to the fact that we just don't have enough of the staff, which is why me in the office will answer a call for a teacher. Absolutely, I've told them all that. 100%. I will answer a call and go help. In any way that I can. I'm not a PI, I'm not an expert, but if I can take a child for a calm down walk, we did. We walked, we talked 5 minutes, get him back to class, and he's happy. But that's what I'm saying, is that if we had a little extra support staffing somewhere, I don't even know what the answer to it is, honestly, but that's just my 2 cents. As an employee, I have seen it, I've felt it, I've watched the growth of the behaviors from when my children went. It is a lot different since 2010. So thank you for listening, I appreciate your time. Oh, one more thing, I'm so sorry, I gotta say this. Playgrounds, campus supervisors, 1-to-100 ratio is not fair. That is not fair. Just because we have 400 kids at our school, we get 4 adults to watch all these children on the playground is not fair. It's setting them up for the fights, the danger, the injuries. Because again, where their eyes are here, the accidents or fights are happening there. 1-to-100 ratio, please rethink that. It is just, that number with the behaviors increased is not a fair ratio. Thank you.
That's all of our comments that I have.
All the comments? Okay. I'm gonna lay it out here though. If anybody didn't put out a comment card but feels compelled to speak, this is your opportunity. Okay? Usually we do this because it's important to us, so if you want to speak, now is your opportunity. No one? Okay. So with that, we will close public comment and move to a presentation that Gabby is going to give us. Or take the, we're good? Okay. We're good. We'll keep going.
Yeah, it should be a little bit corrected. It'll work for you.
If it doesn't,
Just so you know, I say this at every meeting, if it's no tech problems, it wouldn't be a Lakeside School Board meeting. So it's okay.
Andrew will help you if you have.
Oh, no. Sadly, I can't. I'm technologically challenged. I could be. Many would agree with that.
It's on, yeah.
Hi, I'm Gabby Crothers. I'm the behavior specialist, and I supervise our behavior team. So we have 4 awesome members that are here today with us. I'm a little nervous, so please bear with me. Okay, so I couldn't find my professional picture because of us. We were being hit on Halloween. But there's me, and then we have our 4 VIAs. We have Kim, Amber, Tammy over here, and Robert, who are instrumental members at Lakeside, our Lakeside community that really have supported a lot with behaviors and interventions and plans for some of our students. So these are our logistics. We support all campuses. Our behavior team is placed weekly on the following sites from start to end, and we weren't always placed this way, but the past 3 years we've really put that in place. So we heavily support Lakeside Farms, Lemon Crest, and Lindo Park. So we support 3 or more days a week on those campuses. because of the sped classrooms, but also because there's a lot going on the gen ed setting as well, correct? Medium level support, 1 to 2 days a week, Gardens, Riverview, TDS, LMS, and Lakeview. And then our low supports are Dream, River Valley, and LEAP. So how do we decide that? We decide that based off our monthly collaboration meetings we've had with our sites that we've started, students on our caseloads and things in the IEPs, classroom data, teacher feedback, site feedback, and then the district needs as a whole. So our schedules will often shift quarterly or biannually or yearly depending on the site needs. So there's been years we provided heavy support on one campus and then have to pull back. There's been years where we've had 2 BIAs or more on one site for certain situations. So we shift depending on the need. Okay, so our current caseload, we have 48 students on our official caseload. So we have 12 at Lakeside Farms, so services for IEP. We have 12 at Lakeside Farms, 6 at Linder Park, 11 at Lemoncrest, 2 at Lakeview, 9 at TDS, and 8 at LMS. We also consult and we support all the SPED classrooms in Linder Park, Lemoncrest, Lakeside Farms, and TDS. This year we also have an official SPED BIA, so we've been placing one of our BIAs in the SPED classroom to support weekly as well, to just provide more supports as well, because we were noticing that we needed a little bit more intentional time there versus in the gen ed setting. So I would say that we are more instrumental on the elementary level than the middle school level. There's a lot more logistics kind of going on in the middle school level with the amount of teachers, the amount of services, the different topography of students, the different environments, how much change there is. So we're able to make a lot more forward momentum, I feel like, on the elementary school level. Our social service coordinator actually makes a lot of instrumental progress in our middle school, so that's been really helpful this year. Okay, so what we do, we create and implement proactive strategies to support challenging behaviors from our students. We help de-escalate challenging behaviors safely. Daily we do that. We build a lot of relationships with our Lakeside community. That's probably our biggest thing that we have been supporting that has been really helpful in kind of helping us decide how to support our sites and what our sites actually need. We've been collaborating with effective data tracking, making effective VIPs. So we found that when we're making our VIPs, the things that are most successful is when our students and staff have buy-in and it's feasible to them. So even if we make a beautiful plan, if the staff can't implement it because of the ratio of students and what's going on, it's really hard to implement it. So we've kind of been starting from there. We've trained staff members on implementing those techniques to build capacity. We've been consistently collaborating and adjusting our supports to best work within the systems and the culture of each campus, because we have found that our supports are not the same across each site because every site has different needs. So we've been really partnering with our site leaders to figure out exactly what need that is, and when we figure out that need, that's been really instrumental in helping make a lot of forward momentum and decreasing a lot of those challenging behaviors. And then we advocate for our staff and students when needed because we're always in those classrooms. So, where do we fit? So this is a tier system, how we work in. So about 80% of our students follow behavior expectations with those just clear boundaries, teaching rewards and expectations, consistent feedback for not following those expectations, community building skills, all of that. Our principals and our site leaders lead that. If that doesn't work, then we go up to 15% of students need a little bit more focused intervention because they're not responding to that tier 1 level. And then we fit in at the very top. So if all of the things are implemented, and that really comes from the site team, the principals, and we work really heavily with the TOSAs. The TOSAs are really instrumental in helping us to kind of put in those more focused reinforcement systems. Then we're requested at the top tier level. So 3% of students that need extra support, which is where we come in. So last year, we worked together with the gen ed team to create a behavior flow chart to kind of get some more feedback about how to provide for supports for a student and make it more objective. So we found a lot of like, when do you come in? When are you going to be supporting? Who's going to be supporting? What should we do first? What's the first step? So we've worked together with the gen ed team to create this flow chart to make it a little bit easier for our sites to know kind of where to start and where to come in. Not to say, going back to this one, that we don't support at all of these levels, because we are on the sites, which is so helpful. We're able to be proactive on all those levels so we don't get to the 3%. But this kind of helps to create an objective flow to how to get there. Okay, so additional supports we provide in the district. We've been doing IA training. I think it's the 3rd year now that we've been providing this. So we really want to make sure that our assistants in the classroom understand the basics of behavior, understand the basics of communication, understand the basics of safety, of social skills, because there's so many needs that they support and they're integral members in that community. So we provided an opportunity for them to learn from experts, not just me, but we have a lot of great resources in our district that are really great that we've been pulling from. This year, we started our behavior cohort because we are recognizing the huge need for support, specifically from teachers. So it's optional, they sign up. Me and the school psychologist with TOSA have partnered together to create some modules where it's an all-day training to support learning behavior supports and foundations, how to de-escalate behaviors, creating a more inclusive and supportive and safe space for their classroom, and then just understanding a little bit more about universal design learning, so how to teach a bunch of different needs in the classroom. We also provide crisis prevention intervention, which is how to de-escalate challenging situations safely with staff and students. So teachers can sign up, aides can sign up, campus supervisors have signed up, my BIAs are all trained in that, so anybody can sign up to kind of learn how to de-escalate some of those challenging behaviors safely, and that's been really helpful as well for us all to get on the same page and have a uniform roadmap on how to de-escalate things. This year and last year, we started our behavior collaboration meetings, so that I feel like has been super instrumental in helping us be a little bit more proactive on the campuses. So not just us, but anywhere any of the site teams who are on here. So the principal, the school psych, the TOSA, the counselor, the social service coordinator, myself, a program specialist, and sometimes our admins as well, will come to these meetings monthly. And it's really, really important. Our objective of the meeting is to proactively problem solve our high needs, to bring up any new needs, to divide and allocate resources. So is it me who needs to support this particular situation? Can a mental health provider support it? So who is the best focus to be able to get in there and support right away before it gets to that level? Do we need to seek extra support? Do we need to be creative with our resources? Do we need to evaluate progress of supports? So one of the cool things about this as well is every single month we can come back and say, hey, we implemented this, is it working or is it not? Versus waiting for like that annual IEP to get those results. So that's been helpful and new for some of our sites. I do tailored sites and specific trainings and PD days, and then our behavior team in general meets weekly to collaborate amongst ourselves and do trainings as well. Okay. Oh, and I have spent the last year kind of putting together a behavior resource site that is available to everyone on our Lakeside Hub that kind of goes into providing resources for teachers who don't know what the first step is. So this is just a little snapshot of it, but it goes all the way across and talks about how to de-escalate behaviors. It talks about, hey, if I am experiencing defiance in my classroom, this website, you can click on it, and it talks about some resources to try. So that is a really great resource that we provided every campus as well, when in doubt or when we can't be there right away, or where to start, where's the first step. Okay, so I wanted to go into just common feedback we receive because we're on the campuses every single day, so we hear a lot of feedback from a lot of different sources, from IAs to teachers to admins to campus supervisors. All the time we hear it because we are there every day in the classroom supporting. So one of them is not fair. Why does this kid get this? What about the 25 others? So that's a really, really big one that we hear. You're right, I agree. So some of the sites and solutions that the solutions that sites have implemented is we've been partnering a lot with our counselors and our teachers and our mental health professionals to bring more social stories and awareness of differing needs. We've actually had a couple of students and parents come up with different presentations about their needs that they were presenting to their classroom. That was really, really helpful to build the understanding amongst each other as well. We were working with site staff and teachers to make plans more feasible for them. That was a really big one as well. Like, hey, I see this plan, but it's super overwhelming. Where can we start? Where can we go into your setting right now and just change something that's easy for you? Can we help you in that? Can we be here for you for the first week, for the second week? Having a lot of courageous conversations and compromising so everybody feels heard and safe. So our team is trained how to do that and kind of how to dive in those really challenging situations and those conversations. And that's been a huge support for our district. And then we've done a lot of also schedules of support to show up for certain situations. So we've had to be really creative with our solutions when we say, okay, the school site has 30 minutes here, and I have 30 minutes here, and the program specialist has 30 minutes here, and this site staff, and we're able to put together an entire schedule to like support students or teachers for a certain amount of time so they have that extra person in their classroom, specifically with those like high need situations, just to get certain momentum going. So then implementing the behavior system and teaching at the same time feels impossible. So some of the solutions that we've implemented on sites and supported sites with, and they also come with these great solutions, is can we just start with one thing? Can we help you get started? What's the easiest thing in your system? Can we create a communication system on certain campuses? So a few people talked about like our walkie systems on our campuses. We actually have an entire like script of if something happens, this is what we're gonna say, support in da-da-da-da, and then we have a team, a support team that can kind of come in and de-escalate and support a situation safely and quickly, especially in those high need situations. And getting creative with our resources. So because we're a small district and we only have so many resources, we have taken a lot of partnering together to get really creative with what we have and what we can switch and what we can add and what we can do and who we can use, and that's been really helpful as well. And then, big one, what about consequences? So we always encourage staff to follow their site procedures, which on the next page I'll show you guys. But looking at the effectiveness of punishment and what has been done is probably a really big one. So if you've done like a behavior referral, loss of privileges, removal from class, behavior reflection form, meeting with parents, suspensions, etc., and if that does not correct the behavior, we've had a lot of discussions as to why. So is it truly a punishment? Even though it's on that spreadsheet, is it truly a punishment? Is it meaningful to that student? Are we accidentally reinforcing it? Do they want to go home? Do they want to be suspended? Right? We have to think about things like that. Is it fast enough or is it too delayed? So that's a huge question that we have to ask each other as well, especially those students who are in those tier 2 and tier 3 categories where we've done this and it's not effective. The other big tool to that is motivation. So if you haven't created something that is motivating or reinforcing and have that kind of system, then there's nothing really meaningful to take away. So we have been working really heavily with our school and site teams to create meaningful reward systems or classroom management systems to be able to also implement a consequence. So we need to almost have both for it to work. And then partnering with parents and guardians to establish daily, weekly, and monthly communication and consistent response. We've seen the biggest change in behavior when parents get on board. So if I'm doing the same thing at school and you're doing the same thing at home, whether it's a reward, whether it's a punishment, we're doing the same thing and it's delivering the same consistent message to that child, then we'll see really fast change and it's really meaningful. So I highlighted Lemon Crest and Lindo Park. They have this wonderful unexpected behavior flow chart that we also follow. We've defined the behaviors and kind of what is addressed in the classroom and out of the classroom, how the principals or site leaders address it on both sides. And then Lakeside Middle actually just created this one, I believe, last year as well to kind of support with some of those behaviors and the disciplinary consequence route. But yeah, that's me. Thanks, everybody. Questions? No questions. Okay.
Sorry, I have a couple. I'm gonna put you a little bit on the hot seat.
Oh no, okay.
It's all good, just because I think there needs to be some things flushed out, and I want to ask your opinion.
Yeah.
So, in your presentation, you have 48 people or students that you are in IEP.
Yeah.
But tier 1 is 3%, which is much higher. So what's the difference between your tier 1 support and your specific IEP kids?
So when we are actually placed on campuses as like instrumental members, we support a lot in certain cases that our principals or site leaders can kind of help, especially specifically in the beginning. So for example, if we have like newer students, we will be put into their system as like a schedule of support to support them on that campus. Training is a really, really big one, so we're also put into those kinds of categories to support with those tier 1 strategies. So like the behavior cohort, that entire lesson, the very first one, is all about tier 1 strategies and targeting those teachers in a more indirect way. So that is another one.
Are those 48 students in the tier 1, or sorry, tier 3, I apologize. The tier 3 support, are they included in that 3%? So there's, does that make sense?
Can I help?
Yeah, you can help anything you need help.
So behavior intervention support, it's not exactly what it's called, is a service in a student's IEP that can be added to their IEP. And so when we add a service to a student's IEP, we're obligated to provide X number of minutes of behavior support, weekly, monthly, whatever the IEP says, and it supports a behavior goal. So when Gabby says those are the kids on her official caseload, those are the kids whose IEPs say that her team needs to provide a direct support to that student for a certain amount of minutes per day. So those 48 kids have IEPs. The 3% is the system of multi-tiered system of support says that your foundational supports will help about 80% of kids. The additional supports will help about 15% of kids. That leaves you about 5% of kids who are going to need significantly more than everybody else. So those 48 kids are in the 3%, but they don't make up the full 3% because there are a lot of students in our district that don't have IEPs that also need intensive behavioral support, and they get that from the team. So that 48 is really just saying those are the kids with our service on their IEP.
So if you have additional IEPs that come about for whatever reason, how do you scale up if you need more hours or more time with those students? Like what triggers the fact that like we will essentially just run out of time?
So, well, every student
You're
has
saying the IEP is there's a required amount of time.
So sometimes kids come off, they don't need that support anymore. So yes, while we're adding kids, we're also taking kids off of that list. Does that make sense?
It is, but that's kind of my question is how do you determine? It sounds to me that you have a limited number of hours that you can delegate out, right? We're all limited by math, unfortunately.
Totally.
So you keep adding more IEPs for whatever reason, essentially somebody's got to drop off.
Yeah.
And my concern is, why are we dropping them off? We drop them off because we don't have time, or we drop them off because they really don't?
We're not allowed to do that. We're dropping them off because their behavior goals are being met. So we're effectively helping them to change their behavior. So
But again, that goes back to my other question. So if we continue to get more and more IEPs, which that's always been the trend over the last 10 or 15 years, there's just more and more support that we need to give to kids.
Yeah.
Because of behavioral issues. We can understand that for whatever reason. It's not really up for debate, but it's the fact, right? We have more and more of this that we need out. I guess what I'm getting at is everybody wants people, right? So we want TOSAs, we want intervention, we want playground aids, we want all this stuff, and obviously we need more BIs. What's that magic number?
Sorry. Just to clarify though, the BIAs, you've heard of one-to-ones, they are not providing one-to-one aid support. So we have many more students than that 48, unfortunately, that have one-to-one aid support. Her staff does not do that. There's no official cap about hours, but in general, like a maximum, kind of like the highest level of behavior intervention support on a student's IEP is around 5 hours-ish. And that 5 hours is typically not direct support for one of our BIAs attached to a student. That could be time in the classroom observing. A lot of it is consultative, working with the classroom team, could be staffing IEP meetings, data collection, Gabby supporting the BIAs with the student. So anybody that has a one-to-one, it's a completely different like line item in the IEP. So if you're thinking about, I heard a lot of folks talk about needing more BIAs. which is a whole other conversation, but the BIA position is not a person that's providing one-to-one support, because we've got a lot of students that get up 30 hours of like full-time support as an aide. Her staff does not do that. They for sure train, they for sure work with them in the classroom, but it's a completely different position, and it has nothing to do directly with the behavior support team. Just to clarify, in case you were thinking that, just because I'm thinking 48 kids, there's one of you and there's 4 aides for the entire district. They are supporting all of our one-to-ones, but they're not doing the direct support that's in the IEP for the SPED students.
I appreciate that.
And if we got to a place where the behavior team was not able to provide all of the minutes required, then Gabby and Danielle would have a conversation, and Danielle would come to me and say, we no longer have enough BIAs to provide the minutes required in the IEPs that we have, and then I would go to cabinet and request additional staff. That's how that would work. We're not at that list in terms of the number of kids on per caseload officially with an IEP. Does that make sense? Because I think you were asking what happens when.
We can probably flush it out later. I understand where you're coming from, but clearly from the public, that's not.
We'll focus on
Which we can focus on that
questions.
later.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
okay, yes.
Like
All
so
right,
much.
thank you, and
Yeah.
God bless you and your team.
I do have a question for you. From your experience, I think what we're hearing is, you know, and I've heard quite a bit of, revolves around evacuations of classrooms. Can you, I mean, what have you seen be successful in limiting evacuations of classrooms? Because I've heard, I mean, I'm just hearing so much about it. By the way, this is, when I'm walking through Albertsons trying to shop, this is what I hear from people. And so I just want to understand from your experience, because you do this every day.
Yeah.
What's been your experience on tactics and strategy that, other than what you laid out here, or what one of these do you think is the most successful that we could come alongside and support to limit those evacuations? Because I think having uninterrupted classroom time is so important for our kids. So just trying to figure out how we can come alongside and support that effort.
So I know I'm a behavior specialist and I have a behavior title, but really, like, what's made the biggest difference are the site leaders and how much they have put into their campus in terms of building like teams and capacity. So they've done a lot of training, they've done a lot of reinforcing staff behavior, they've done a lot of work on their PBIS systems. They have done a lot of collaboration, so finding like the right people to service the right resources. So I might be the person to support like this situation, but this person is better at supporting this one because it's more of a mental health situation, and getting really tight with our communication system. So even, for example, when a behavior happens on campuses like Lindo Park, Lakeside Farms, Lakeview, and Lemongrass, it's really quick. Like, it's really fast. We have a specific word that we use or a specific language that we have, and we immediately have, as long as everybody's there that day and everyone is present and nobody is absent, we have a really fast response. And it's very different in how we respond proactively on each campus, so like finding the right fit for that campus. So for example, on Lindo Park's campus, we come up with a system where in the morning, we already check in with those high flyer cases to proactively get certain things in place so that we don't have to have that later. Whereas like Lemoncrest, it's a little bit different where we're following like a specific schedule that we're checking in, and Jen will tell us in the morning, hey, I need you to be here and to be here, and we're able to be more proactive in that situation. Or at Lakeview, where certain members of the team that'll let us know kind of what's going on, and then supporting in that way. So just coming up with really powerful and helpful systems. And it's not the same on every campus, because that is the elementary level, but like on the middle school level, it looks very different. And like having someone else come in that case, like our social service coordinator back then, who's really been really instrumental on the middle school level, proactively has been really helpful versus my supports. So like finding the right person, the right resources, the right system, and it's taken a really long time. I would say like on Winter Gardens Riverview, as a newer principal, we're still discovering that. We're trying to figure that out and figure out what works for us. Whereas like I've been working with Jim and Tessa for a really long time, and I feel like we have a really good system in place. So that's been really helpful with some of those behaviors as well.
Thank you.
Yeah.
One of the things I heard you say, which I believe is the gold standard, is working with that parent, have that parent reinforce whatever you're doing in school. Now, we know our parents that connection with that parent, and they may not be able to do it just right, but if you can get that parent, that cooperation between that parent, and show that there can be changes with their child, and that child can really succeed in school, if that can be meshed and they can reinforce it, we have that great partnership. That is the gold standard for
Totally. Parents and teacher buy-in, because when we first started, we go in and there was a lot of teachers like, well, we're not gonna do that. That seems like a lot. Absolutely not, that's not my job. But then kind of going in and building relationships with our teachers has been really huge for us as well, to kind of support that. And then also having them reach out to parents, so, yeah.
Any other questions for me? All right, thank you so much for that.
Great job.
Thank you. So, we are going to take, right, we're going to take a 5-minute break real quick, just so we can have just a little bathroom break, and then we're going to come back. Only you guys 5 minutes. 5 minutes. Please.